Last week, I spoke with the Director of Gender Affairs, Virgil Jeffers, about the observance of International Men's Day here in St Kitts and Nevis, the issues that men face, and the department's work as it relates to men and boys. This is what he had to say. To view Virgil, obviously, we're talking about International Men's Day this year, and as the Director of Gender Affairs, your gender also being male, I want to get into your head a little bit as to what this day means, not only for the department, but also for you. So how important is it, first of all, that we recognize International Men's Day here in St. Kitts and Nevis?
Okay, International Men's Day is celebrated on the 19th of November each year. It's an international recognized activity. And the main objective is really to bring about the successes as well as some of the challenges that men face in the day-to-day living. It's not only a woman, or it's not only women who experience, difficulties or challenges, but men too, they have their challenges. So the highlighting of International Men's Day is one way of which we can use to, bring some notice or some highlight, some awareness to international men and their activities.
All right, so as we talk a little bit more about the challenges, of course, in your line of work, you would have an idea as to what those collective challenges might be. What can you tell us about those challenges that men face?
They do face the challenges. Unfortunately, they're not the ones who are readily or willingly come forward to ask for help. I mean, here in the office, we have more women, and if you look at the statistics, you would realize it is so much more women are coming seeking for assistance. But some of the men, especially the single fathers, they do come and they ask for the assistance, just like the mothers, in terms of getting assistance in the seeking school uniform or seeking some kind of counseling for the children who would have been experiencing some form of trauma. They do come seeking for food vouchers as well, but majority of them, they don't come. What I've started to do is when the women come to make a complaint or to seek assistance, then I do reach out to the fathers. But the fathers or the men, they don't readily come to seek assistance.
All right. Is that in part informed by, our society with men seemingly not being as proactive in seeking help because we are perceived to be, quote unquote, the stronger of the two genders, although that is changing now? Is that part of it? Is it a battle with perception, you find?
Yes, that is a valid perception. And I think it has to do a lot with stigma as well. I mean, we socialize our men to be strong and to go and to do without asking for help, but it's not everything that we as men can do on our own. And there comes a time when you definitely will have to ask for help somewhere along the line.
All right, so as we talk about this concept of needing help for different things and the challenges that men and women face, I do want to talk with you a little bit about, what is required concerning the community involvement, because although we're talking about International Men's Day, what we need to focus on as well, I find, is that it's a collective approach to empowering men to fulfill their roles well. So what do you have to say about that?
Empowering men comes with the need for education. So we really need to educate the men on, what is acceptable, what they need to do, and how they can be a better partner in society. So education is basically the key or the focus that should be taken when it comes to adding awareness to our men.
All right, so as you talk about education, you're reminding me, of course, of the theme. We're focusing on, the role of men and boys, men helping boys. And when we talk about that education aspect, what opportunities do you seek to take advantage of to ensure that the younger in our community can really look to positive male role models and step into manhood in the future the way that they ought to?
Okay, the Department of Gender Affairs, we offer men mentorship programs for both male and females. So we have the boys mentorship and we have the girls mentorship. And in this case, we do have the boys mentorship program, who is managed by gender officer, Mr. Dion Brown. And as part of the mentorship programs, our aim, well, we start out really in the schools, in high schools, and it is our hope to basically branch off into the primary schools. But from the activities that would have been done so far in the boys mentorship program, they would have been paired with replicable men that, you know, can provide some sort of support, some sort of positive guidance, some positive influence. We're actually, as part of the activities, we're looking to launch the Cut and Shape program, which is a mentorship program in St. Paul's. And one of the activities that we're looking at is to have the boys become entrepreneurs in St. Paul's. So if you have a bike, you know, you can patch a tire, you charge a little $5, you start your own business. We're also going to be teaching them how to cut hair. We're teaching them how to tie. We're going to also be teaching the soft skills, you know, the manners and how to get through life as a upstanding young man.
I'm curious to know, Virgil, if some of these programs were informed by your own experience when you were not only a teacher, but also the principal of the Beach Island Primary School.
Yes, that is correct.
That is correct. So there were observations that you made that said that there were gaps that needed to be filled.
Yes, there are gaps, and what we realize too, the absence of fathers is also posing a problem, because the statistics would show that, you know, most of the households are headed by females. And as much as women are important and they're needed, women cannot do it by themselves and they cannot teach everything. There will be a need for boys. And as such, we would have used man of status, man of character, positive character that is, to teach, to mold, to guide the young men in our society.
Well, that's a very important point as well, because, you know, we think of International Men's Day and we think of all the different roles that men play, fatherhood being one of them. But to your point, that there are some fathers who are absent, I think that that role needs to be filled by some father figures. So what would you say to men in the community who might be on the fence about setting positive role models for, or even adopting in one way or another, you know, young boys to show them, you know, positive examples of behavior that they should display?
Well, I would encourage them to, if they're on the fence in your term, I would encourage them to, you know, not to be on the fence, but to make the positive move. No longer should they be on the fence, but to be an active member in our mentorship program. Or even if they want to do it by themselves, you know, take some young man under their arm, under their wing, and to guide them and influence. Because at the end of the day, it's only going to make for a better society. I mean, guiding them to be positive would help to make society a better place, at least help to keep the young men from going astray and getting themselves in all sorts of negative trouble.
You know, as I talk to you as well, I can't help but think about what we hear about in the news so often about domestic violence and men's role in that, although we are victims of that as well. But as you rightly said before, perhaps we don't come forward as quickly or as openly because it affects our pride or for whatever reason. In terms of anger management, though, what opportunities are there for addressing that issue? I know that you mentioned before when we spoke off air about a panel discussion on domestic violence. What can you tell us about that and other related activities?
For anger management, as part of the ministry, we also offer counseling. So we have the counseling unit. So any person wishing to visit the office, or even when persons come to the office on other matters and we realize, you know, hey, there is some anger, some underlying issue, and anger is one of them, we actually recommend that you take up our services. We can make the contact for you at the counseling unit. And once it comes from the Department of Gender or any other department within the ministry, you tend to get jumped, so to speak, jumped in getting into the services as opposed to someone who walks off the street and walk into the counseling unit by themselves. Because the counseling unit, they do have a list, and when the staff is limited, yes, and they serve the entire country. But if there's a call that was made by Mr. Jeffers or any one of the officers from the Department of Gender, it's treated with some sort of extra urgency. I'm not saying that if you walk in, you won't be treated urgently, but you will be booked. So there's the booking schedule. But if Mr. Jeffers called, they would say, okay, well, we can make provision for you to come at an earlier time.
All right, and in relation to the activities that you have planned, we talked about, very briefly, I mentioned it, the panel discussion that you're having. But apart from that, the reason that we are recording this interview now is because you will be unavailable on Friday because of the work that you have concerning your plans for an award ceremony. What can you tell us about some of those activities?
Okay, so this coming Friday, we have Wear Blue Day. So we would have encouraged persons, education ministry, all the different ministries, business places, to wear blue in spreading the awareness of International Men's Day. As well as Friday evening, we have our award ceremony where we will be honoring men who would have been nominated and judged for the service that they would have provided. And then we have the statement by the minister on the 19th, and then we have a panel discussion in Nevis. We're looking to have the launch at the Virgil High School. So Virgil High School will be our next school to launch the boys mentorship program. And then we're having the Bossapot competition, which is on Sunday, the 27th of November. And then we're going to launch the Cut and Shape in St. Paul's, and that too is another mentorship program in the St. Paul's community.